Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 10th episode of the Teen Talk podcast. And today I'm here with yet another special guest. I'm here with Saiqa Pirmohamed. So, before we actually begin, Saiqa, would you like to tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Abir, for firstly having me on this podcast. I think it's a great initiative, and I'm so honored to be here. I Saika. I'm 25 years old, and I currently reside in Kenya. But I've been fortunate enough to move around the world. So I was born in the UK, then I moved to Saudi, then Bahrain, and then Dubai. Then went back to London for university, and then got married and moved to Kenya. So alhamdulillah, I've had a good amount of experiences and learns that I'm looking forward to share with you guys today. I've done different things in my life. I'm only 25, so I'm hoping there's many more to come. But I'm quite spontaneous and I don't really stick to one job. I like to do different things. So I studied economics in university, and I worked in corporate banking for a while after uni. And it was interesting. I learned a lot, but I found it a bit boring and mundane and repetitive. So I uh, I moved into different jobs, personal training, which I'm sure we'll talk about, and event planning and project management. And it's been a whirlwind. It's been good.
All right, thank you so much. And I think I've been following your fitness page, which like you mentioned we'll be talking about right now for over a year now. And I think other than the usual content that you make about fitness tips and stuff like that, the first thing that I noticed was about a recent injury that you spoke about. And I think that really resonated with me as well because I've had multiple injuries over the years. And what I do know for a fact is that injuries are so much more than just the physical pain itself, there's the mental side to it as well. So, I would love for you to tell us about how did you cope mentally, during your injury phase, and perhaps what did the injury teach you?
I think that's a really good question, and you're right in saying that mental pain is a lot harder than physical pain because physical pain you can show people, and there's a clear wound, there's a clear injury, but I think mental is a lot harder because it's hard to show the symptoms, and that's why it's so difficult. The injury was an ongoing injury, so I had it back in 2019, and I ruptured it multiple times until it got really, really bad. So I ended up having a full ACL rupture. I tore my meniscus as well, and another ligament called your MCL. So it was a pretty intense surgery. Um, it was very, very difficult because you go from being fully independent and living your life and walking around and doing things so easily to then suddenly depending on the people around you and feeling so much like a burden to other people. And you really like, I think we don't appreciate all the things that we have until we don't have them. And so simple things like just stretching my legs, I couldn't do that anymore because I was in a brace for 6 weeks, or just getting up and to go get something. Everything had to have extra thought. Um, I think what was really difficult was sports was a very big part of my identity. I was, playing a different sport every day, and I really enjoyed that aspect of being, active and especially team sports. That was my like social outlet, and that's how I kind of kept myself moving and going. And as soon as I didn't have that anymore, I felt like a part of my identity had been taken away from me, and suddenly I didn't know how to show up for myself. And that was really, really, really difficult. But what I started to learn, and I'm still learning, is only in these very uncomfortable situations is where you really grow in different aspects. And I'm so, so grateful that I even went through such an experience because it taught me so much. I started learning so much about myself. I started getting a bit more grounded. I was on a brace for 6 weeks, and that basically means you're propped up on a bed and you can't really walk around too much. When you have to sit with yourself for that long, you really have to start being comfortable with your own thoughts and start like looking deeper. And it was great. I had time to work on patience and perseverance, and I learned new hobbies. I started painting. My spirituality also increased because you also have to trust God so much. What I learned, and this is, I think, something that I'm still learning, it's a very difficult mindset to have, is there's a lot of things we can't control in life. Your
Yeah.
situation around you, people's actions, people's reactions, the environment that you're in. You can't control those things. So there's no point getting upset about it. I had a really, really bad injury and it was what it was. So either I could complain and self-pity, which is very, very easy to do. It's really easy to do something like that. Or you can change perspective and think, how can I use my tools and my resources to still be happy despite the situation? And so that's essentially what the mindset that I tried to have, and that is what I think kept me going throughout my full recovery was a year. So through my year recovery.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, it's all about perspective, right? Like I would say an injury is basically a blessing in disguise because in that moment is when you actually realize that I should value what I have right now. Like for example, I should be grateful for the healthy shoulder that I have right now, or for, the healthy body that I have right now, because I say this all the time. I think life is so unexpected. Like, you really don't know what's going to happen in the next second, or even the next minute, or even the next day, hour, whatever, right? So, I would say always be grateful for what you have right now because you never know what's going to happen. Like, when you get like a sore throat or, you know, um, any issue with your health, that's when you realize that your health is everything, because when you have your health you're just worrying about other things until you get sick and you're like, wait, no, my health is the most important thing. And another thing I would say is that I completely respect how you used your, perspective to work, during your injury phase, because that's very, very difficult. A lot of people are not able to do that, and it's so difficult to kind of have that, perspective that I'm gonna do what I can do right now with what I have, rather than keep on
Mhm.
complaining and complaining. And so I 100% respect that. And another thing which I would like to add is that you really understand about your support system, because recently I had a arm injury. I actually forgot what it was called, but my mom had to kind of do a lot of things for me. Like she had to give me a bath, she had to drive me everywhere. And honestly, like, I realized that we actually started getting more close after I had that injury. And I feel like that was the best thing that happened to me, because I felt like my mom and I were getting really distant because we were both going to work and we were just coming back and we were just tired and we were just not having the conversations that we used to. I think that's something about injuries that we don't talk about much, is the part where everything just slows down.
I completely agree with you on the point on gratitude. I think whenever you're going through anything difficult in life, whether that's an injury or, any problems that you face, the one thing that keeps you going is noticing the good things that are happening in your life. There's this theory that I often think about, which is called the red car theory. And if I ask you today, how many red cars have you seen? You'd probably think back and you'd probably say, I don't remember, I wasn't really focusing on the red cars. But if I tell you at the start of the day, I want you to look out for the red cars and I want you to tell me how many you see, you'd come back to me with an answer, right? And I think that's exactly how life works. If you focus on the positive things going on in your life and you focus on what you should be grateful for, like you said, your relationship with your mom became better. And there are many, many things. As humans, it's normal for us to have a negative bias. It's normal for us to notice the bad things happening to us. But if you consciously acknowledge the good things that are going on in your life, then you'll start noticing more and more of them. And suddenly your situation doesn't seem as bad as it once was. And I think that's something really, really important to keep in mind, regardless of what difficulty you're going through. At the end of the day, you need to just trust God and trust that you're in the exact place that you need to be. And you can't control that situation, but you're there now and you just have to make the most of it because a couple of years down the line, when I was in my recovery of the surgery, I was just like, nothing worse could have happened to me at this point in time. I can't think of a worse. possibility. I'm stuck on my bed. Everyone has to do everything for me, you know? And it's very easy to just spiral in your own thoughts. But the moment you step back and 4 years on, now I look back at my injury, I think about that's exactly where I needed to be. The mentality that the mindset that I started to learn, the relationship that I had with my mom after that, how much she helped me and how much my support system around me helped me. And what I learned about myself and the fact that I became a personal trainer because of my injury, I didn't know it in that moment because I'm just me, I'm just a human. But if I trusted God and I knew that that's where I was supposed to be, and I acknowledged all the things I should be grateful for, then it would have been a lot easier for me. So I think you're completely right. Gratitude and just trusting God is very, very important when it comes to injuries and leaning on your support system because they are the ones that get you through it.
Think when you
All right.
actually start, gratitude and practicing gratitude, you'll start noticing that sometimes these small things are also the really big things. Like if you woke up today and had, a really tasty meal and drank water, a lot of people don't have the access to that, or a lot of people don't have opportunities that, perhaps you and I have. So it's always important to live in the present, have the mindset that this is where I'm supposed to be, and there's always, you know, a reason as to why this happened. And you're actually going to live a very content life if you have this mindset. So 100% agree with you. And I think moving on to, another part of fitness, which I've heard a lot of people say, is that, they really want to be active and healthy and fit, but there's something that's stopping them, which is, their busy time schedule or their long working hours. So what would you tell such a person who would say that I really want to be fit, or I really want to, I don't know, go to the gym or whatever, but I'm really, really busy?
I think it's a really important question because oftentimes, especially on social media, we're surrounded by fitness influencers who are, in very good shape and who have fitness as more of their job as opposed to their hobby. And so we think to ourselves it's either nothing or it's everything, and there's no in between. But the reality with fitness is it's more important to do small, consistent things every day or every few days, as opposed to doing one big thing or potentially keeping a habit for 2 or 3 weeks and then not being able to make it sustainable. If you start thinking about it like that, and you start thinking about fitness as a non-negotiable in your life, a commitment that you're making to yourself, just like we have commitments to everyone else around us, fitness is a commitment that you're making to yourself, but it's a small one, and it's one that you promise that you will do through, a small bit every day, then I think it makes it a lot easier for the person. And it doesn't have to be a 60-minute workout. It doesn't have to be, a long thing. It can even be waking up in the morning and doing a few stretches before you start your day, like a 5-minute workout. Or when you have a phone call or you have a work call or you're chatting to your mom, you're walking around the house whilst you're doing that. You're keeping your blood flowing or your oxygen pumping. Um, and that's the best way to start getting fitness into your life. There's another really cool idea called habit stacking, which is where you take a habit that you do every day without fail, whether that's something like brushing your teeth or making a cup of coffee. You've trained your brain to do that constantly day after day. That's something that your body has gotten used to and it's become a habit in your day-to-day routine. You then take something fitness related, something that gets your heart pumping, and you connect it to that activity. So every time you make yourself a cup of coffee, you get down and you do 5 press-ups. Or every time you call your mom because you do that daily, you start going for your walk at the same time. And that way, you're training your brain to make connections between two habits and you're making it easier to make that activity a part of your day. So that's something that I would recommend, especially to people who are working long hours and who have many other commitments. Um, it's also really good to have a partner or an accountability partner. Um, if you struggle to motivate yourself and to discipline yourself, it's good to find someone else who then you have responsibility to yourself, but you also have responsibility and commitment to somebody else. So instead of going for a walk by yourself, tell your siblings or tell one of your friends, let's go for like a half an hour walk together and we'll catch up whilst we're doing it. Or you ask your one of your friends, listen, I have this goal and I'm struggling to get to it. Can you check up on me constantly and be strict on me and make sure that I reach those goals? And that makes it a lot easier because now you have two people to be accountable to, yourself and the other person. But I think the most important mentality here is fitness shouldn't be competing with other things in your life. It's not fitness or, work, or it's not fitness or your socials. Fitness should become part and parcel of your life, and it can be integrated into other things you do. And it can be fun as well. Initially, maybe not so much, but you just have to find what makes you happy. And eventually, health and fitness have such big benefits on your life. Once you start to realize that, is once you will start wanting to make that change as opposed to forcing yourself to do it.
I definitely agree with what you said, small things consistently. And again, like the things you suggested as well, it's not such like big things. It's like you wake up, okay, you're brushing your teeth, just do, 5 squats or whatever. I think these are such, doable things. I think something that I used to do as well when I was at work and I felt like I had I had a desk job kind of. So I was like sitting most of the time. Something I did a lot was like just going in the corridor and like speaking to my mom, like you said, and I would just walk for like 15-20 minutes, and that really does help. Even habit stacking is such a wonderful way because you're doing the fun things and at the same time you are prioritizing your fitness as well. So that works wonderfully. I definitely agree with that. And I think when it comes to fitness as well, there's so much noise out there. Like a lot of people are, putting out what everything that they know about fitness. There's so many myths as well. And I feel it's so common and so easy for us to believe it because some people just say it in such a convincing way as well. Like for example, a few years back, I was trying to lose weight and someone said, oh, you should cut out all carbs in your life. And I think that's one of the biggest myths, and that actually had such a like it actually affected me a lot in a very bad way. So what other myths would you say that do affect people, on a daily basis and that actually hinder our progress in relation to fitness?
Cutting carbs is definitely a huge myth. I would not recommend that to anyone just because it's not sustainable. Um, Being fit and super healthy doesn't mean you cut all the happiness out of your life. And I don't blame you or other people who hear these myths because we're surrounded by it on social media. And that's why I think influencers have such a big responsibility to really fact check what they're putting out there.
Yeah.
One day you're supposed to drink 2 liters of water, and then the next day you're not supposed to drink too much water because it could harm your liver, and you're like, what do I believe, and what's reality and what's not? So I don't blame you at all. But one thing that we spoke about before is to be fit and healthy does not necessarily mean you have to do long workouts. It means doing short bursts of movement throughout your life and to stay consistent and, keep that habit going. That's the most important thing. The second thing that I hear a lot of women, especially talking about, is they prioritize cardio, which is like high intensity movements to lose fat, to burn off fat, and they stay away from strength training because they don't want to get bulky. They don't want to look like some of the weightlifters we've seen on social media. Strength training is as important, if not more important, than cardio. And that's because firstly, you will not look bulky, you will not look like the weightlifters, I can promise you that. The reason that women especially need to strength train is because we need to get to a stage when we're older and our bones get weaker, we need to be able to support our joints and to support any, movements that, for example, if we fall, we need to be able to protect our knees and our shoulders and our elbows. Um, so strength training, being able to withstand load and withstand pressure is so important for women. Flexibility, mobility training, being able to move in different directions to train your joints to move further than before, that is so crucial. So I wish that women were not so scared of strength training. I think it's also so beautiful to be so powerful in your own skin, to feel strong, the confidence that it gives a woman. I think that's something that's unmatched. So don't be scared of strength training. I promise you're not going to look out of shape, and it's such an internal confidence boost and something that's so important as we age. I think that's yeah, that's probably the two most important myths that I've heard. But I just want to finalize that point by saying all of the stuff that I've mentioned today is not easy. It's not easy to work out every day. It's not easy to constantly keep moving. Otherwise, everyone would be doing it, and we want to have a lot of the health issues that we have today. So I do acknowledge that none of this stuff is easy, but I think the most respectable trait that I've ever seen in anyone, and that I wish that I can always work on, is discipline. And discipline is all about working hard today for the future you. Because even though you can't, when you're working out, when you're staying healthy, it's hard to see the changes. It's not like you do 10 push-ups today and tomorrow, you're completely transformed your body. That's not how fitness works. And that's why it's so difficult for people to do it, because especially the millennials, we live in a world of instant gratification. We need to work and we need to see the results straight away. And when it comes to health and fitness, it's not like that. It's a long-term project that you're doing for yourself, but it's worth it. I promise it's worth it, because when you're much older, you still want to be playing with your grandchildren and running around the yard with them. And you still want to have healthy lungs, and you still want to have a strong heart. So you're not doing it for you today. You're not. It's a very selfless thing. You're doing it for you in the future, because you know that future you is that's what they need. So this is not easy. I just want to put that out there. And it's not easy for me either. That's why people say personal trainers have personal trainers, because they need someone to push them. But it is worth it. And the mental health benefits, it's not just about body shape. It's not just about losing fat. It's about feeling strong. It's about feeling confident. It's about the mental effects. It's about pushing hard when it hurts. I think the mental strength that you have to develop, um, because your muscles only grow when they start to hurt. When you're doing sit-ups and then you start to really feel it in your core, that is when your muscles are actually working and tearing themselves down and building themselves up stronger. But that's not easy to withstand that pain. And so there are those mental benefits as well. Um, but yeah, I can promise you that it is worth it.
I 100% agree with you. And I think, as someone who has been going to the gym for about 3 to 4 years, I will say that the gym will actually help you more with your mental health than with your physical health. I have another question, like, would you 100% recommend a personal trainer, or, is it fine if you just learn the form from like YouTube or something? Because that's what I've been doing for years.
That's a really good question. And I think if you've managed to do it for 3 to 4 years and you've been able to see results and you've kept away from injury, then I think you can just keep doing what you're doing and you're seeing yourself grow. I think where a personal trainer comes in is, firstly, if a lot of people are scared of going to the gym, the machines can look very scary. And so they ask a personal trainer to come and help them acclimatize to the machines and to learn how to use them in a safe manner. Form is very important, especially when you're using weighted equipment. It's very easy to injure yourself. So I think if you've got that, like if you're a little bit scared of going to the gym or you've had injuries in the past, I would definitely recommend getting a personal trainer. For someone like me who struggles to push myself, I think where you struggle with discipline, I think that's also important to get a personal trainer, because you can ditch on yourself, but you can't message your PT in the morning and say, oh, I'm not feeling it today. It's the PT's responsibility to say, no, Abir, you're getting out of bed and you're coming and we're going to make this work. So it's good to have that like little motivational push, but you don't need a personal trainer to get started. I don't think like it shouldn't be an excuse for you. Like if you can do it without a PT, then by all means you can definitely do it without it.
I think something that stops me from getting a personal trainer is because I've seen some of the personal trainers at my gym, and I think they sometimes make their clients overdo. Like the other day, I just saw one personal trainer she was doing, I think, crunches, And then
Mhm.
right after that, like another really intense exercise, I think jumping jacks or something, and absolutely no break. And I was like, what on earth is going on? Because I had attended this session where this guy said, he was a personal trainer himself, and he said that, you know um before I actually start my sessions with my clients, I want to know their stress level so that we can make or customize our session accordingly. And we may not do as intense as other days, because if your stress is really high and then you're doing really intense, that's what he said. So I was just saw that, and I was just so concerned for the client. I was just like, I hope she's okay.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. That does sound very intense for the client. And I think that's where it's the personal trainer's responsibility to really get to know the client. Like there is not one recipe that fits all the clients. It's very much about getting to know them, getting to understand any injuries that they have, what helps them, what doesn't help them. Some people, especially women, a lot of women have lower back pain that you need to consider, or they may have postnatal complications. And so it is the personal trainer's responsibility to really accommodate the client's needs and requirements while still pushing them in a safe manner. Because at the end of the day, it is definitely about pushing the client. You want that client to grow and you want them to become stronger and better, and but in a very controlled and safe manner. I've not experienced that myself yet, but I'm sure, yeah, there are people who are good at their jobs and maybe not so good, and need to work on it. But I've been training for about 2 years now, and every client that I've, come into contact with has helped me grow in some way or the other. Because, yeah, it's also difficult because every client is different, and you have to constantly keep, changing and accommodating for them. So, um, like I said, it's not necessary to get a personal trainer. I think it's also just it's nice to go to the gym with somebody as well. Like I really enjoy going with someone else, not just by myself. So it's also got the social benefits. But if your trainer is not handling you with care and with love like they would do for themselves, then I would definitely recommend finding a new trainer or training yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely great trainers out there for sure. So I agree with you. A personal trainer must know their client, the client's injuries and stuff like that. 100% agree with you. I'm pretty sure there are really great ones out there. And yeah, it was firstly wonderful talking to you, and talking about everything about injuries, how we can stay fit, in such a busy world, and also what myths to keep in mind so that we're not harming ourselves, or you know unnecessarily doing things that really are not required. So firstly, thank you so much for coming once again. It was wonderful. And for everyone listening, see you all in the next episode, and take care.